Huh. Miss Andrews? I can see why you're pros at what you do. Pardon me? Yes, just as you say, the press conference was set up by Juan. Oh, shit. Miss Andrews, please offer us an explanation for this. I was the one he asked to help set it up. And the person who prepared the second costume for him, that was also me. You... Juan had bet everything on the Jammin' Ninja this year. And if he lost the Grand Prix, he was going to make sure Matt was going down with him. That's what he thought, anyway. He was going to ruin him, huh? It looked like somehow Juan had in his hands a secret so powerful that it would destroy Matt's acting career had it been revealed. What? And do you know what the secret of Matt Guards is, Miss Andrews? That's something only Juan knew. I don't know what it is. Ah, I see. I've probably been coming off quite suspicious to everyone, but that's to be expected. I've been trying to protect Matt, after all. Protect Mr. Ungard? And yet again, another strange bit of truth comes to light, it seems. Miss Andrews, if you could, please tell us the truth of your behavior. Yes, Your Honor. I understand. I love that this is all one day, so I don't have to go, looking for clues anymore. Makes it really interesting. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. I had to kill Juan no matter what. And he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course. The button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt that I had to protect him. You did a shit job of it, then. This does account for everything. Well, I am the logical type. We're finally seeing her true self. She is more nervous than a scared rabbit. If there are no objections, I feel I can pass a verdict based on this testimony. Now then, Mr. Wright, if you please. Looks like somehow everything has swung to the opposite end of the scale once again. That just means I have to put my weight into this and turn the logic upside down. What do we got here, Phoenix? You got this shit. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go for broke. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. Okay. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what. Why? So, would you say this need came from the press conference? Yes. Do you know why Juan chose that event and that hotel for the conference? Because that was when he could cause the most damage to public's beloved Matt Guard. And you knew of this plan, didn't you, Miss Andrews? Yes, because I was the one who set up the conference and prepared the costume. But I'm sure Mr. Ungard himself didn't know anything about a press conference. Oh, really? Can you show me any proof that he didn't know about the press conference? Anyway, the important thing here is that the information was not in your testimony. Yes, I agree. Please, Miss Andrews, correct your testimony if you please. Grasping at straws now, are we, Mr. Wright? Hey, stealing Mr. Edgeworth's lines, are we now? Has Mr. Ungard done something to hurt or betray you personally? Why do you ask? You were the one who helped Mr. Creed with his press conference, and that event was supposed to bring down Mr. Ungard. Hey, you still helped him out. The person on trial right now is Mr. Ungard, right? What the witness was thinking, helping the victim with his plan, is none of our concern. In any case, this means that the defendant had a motive to kill. Why do I keep doing this to myself? He didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. Hold on to that one. What about the sleep? But didn't you already testify that Mr. Ungard was taking a nap in his room? Are you telling me now that too was a lie so you could cover for Mr. Ungard? I'm not telling you anything of the sort. When I went to get him from the show, he honestly was sleeping. However, as to whether he was sleeping the entire time, that I cannot say. I too was busy setting up the stage at the time. I'll keep trying, but I can't find no flaws with what Miss Andrews has said. I can't say the same for some people here in this courtroom, however. The judge is glaring straight at Mia. He's glaring at you, smart guy. thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course, the button and the knife. You can hardly call the knife decisive evidence. The fingerprints on the knife could very well be a clever camouflage. Then, what about the button? The button? It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and the murderer fought, and during the fight, the killer ripped the button from the Jammin' Ninja's costume. You're talking about this button, correct? That button was found in the pleats of Mr. Matt Hakama, isn't that correct? I would think that makes it a very decisive evidence. Ugh! Looks like you were outfoxed again, Mr. Wright. Anyway, the knife doesn't prove a thing. Please fix your testimony. I can't stand the sight of a man who can't gracefully accept his defeat. Alright, Francisca, shut the fuck up already. Thank goodness Mia can still look at me. With an icy stare, yes. Miss Andrews, for Mr. Wright's sake, please add this information to your testimony. And for Mr. Fowler, please stop getting your microphone caught in your damn chair. Yes, Your Honor. Hold it. And how do you know that? The ends of the thread of the button and the costume were matched up. They found to fit perfectly together. Or so I had heard. I heard that before too. But why would Miss Andrews know about this case down to such a fine detail? Don't look at me like that. Just because I'm prepared you're not. I thought I had her this time for sure. If there's anything to trip her up on, it has to be here. But where and what? So if the button being torn off was an issue... I don't know. This is certainly strange. Boy, if it really was that, then we have to assume she's going back to her point. Whether or not she opened the Gadar case doesn't really matter. Interesting. I don't know. Let's go back to this one. What do we got here? But what you really did was stab the guy in the back, didn't you? And at the worst possible time. Who's to say she really stabbed the guy in the back, as you put it? This witness could have disclosed things about Mr. Engarda at any time. Why then would she wait until there was a large audience before doing so? It's the same reason why Mr. Krita planned such an elaborate conference. Miss Andrews wanted to cause Mr. Engarda as much damage as she possibly could. This witness bears ill will towards the defendant. This isn't the Phoenix Wright Wax Philosophical Power Hour. And please stop slandering the witness. As I expected, Miss Andrews' testimony seems pretty solid. Really? Because to me, it sounds a little wishy-washy. Wishy-washy? Well, I guess we'll see if I press a little more. You should know this by now, but you'll need strong, decisive evidence to make her talk. Got it, Chief. I'm gonna pin you down this time, Miss Andrews. We can prove what her motive was. Keep going. You're saying that this is something I should look at. So if the button was turned off during the fight with Matt, what does that really even mean? I don't know. I really don't know. Huh. I'm lost in this one. press this one. Let's go with this. Would you say that your intuition speaking to you, that was your intuition speaking to you? Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own. If you want to prove that someone did something, you need 3 things. 3? Oh, I know what these 3 things are. Alright, everybody. Everybody! Silk hat! Alright, no, I'm not gonna go through all that. A motive, an opportunity to commit the crime, and finally, decisive evidence. And if you think that these 3 things through enough, the answer becomes quite clear. You should have known that, Phoenix. You didn't teach us that in school. It's not from what I remember. May I continue now? Alright. Interesting. Give me a minute here. Let me think about this for 1 second. So, considering everything we've seen thus far, we need to prove right now, is that Matt either didn't have an alibi, or Matt had an alibi, or that there's something very strange about the fact that the button was torn off in such a way. Wait a minute. Let's try that. And how do you know that? There's a thread of the button and the contract were messed up. They found fit perfect together, so I heard.
Fast forward, BMO.
No, it can't be. It can't fucking be. No. No. Uno. Dos. The buttons weren't torn off. Yes, they were. Were they? Hey, hold up. Hold the phone. What? The buttons are right there, Your Honor. The buttons are right there. I don't know. Holy shit, that took a while. But I think I've come up with a pretty good solution. So Phoenix did mention that this was the point in his press on in this. When you think about it, he's mentioning that the button was torn off in his fight. And I mentioned, you know, there was a strangulation with a scarf and he stabbed him. Jeez, of course it would be torn off. But think about that again. Would it really? If he was strangling him, he'd be like flung all across the room. But that means he was probably like from behind him and then like comes up and like stabs him. It'd be one and done real easy. In other words, his button wouldn't have gotten torn off, would it have? Maybe. I don't know. That's just my guess. And sure enough. Christ. This is the victim's autopsy report. It clearly states that the cause of death was strangulation by a scarf. Strangulation? The knife stab to the victim was done after the victim had died. And what does that mean? Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it, which would mean that it was ripped off by the costume. Oh! No. Oh, interesting. After the knife was stabbed into the victim. Exactly, which means it's impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle, because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. That's right, Miss Andrews. There is no way this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was conspicuously pulled off the victim's already dead body. Damn. Hey! Order. What is the meaning? What is the meaning of this, right? So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does this change? Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgeworth. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did that serve? What purpose? We now know that this button was not torn off during the fight, so the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it? Mr. Wright, does this mean you know what the murderer wanted to do with the button? What was it? Probably to pin the crime on guard. There's only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. Ungard. Deny it, bitch! There's no way anyone would have put a bloody button on their own pants. That's right. Mr. Ungard was set up. By the real killer, of course. And the real murderer... Oh, for fuck's sake! Who have I been pointing to? Well, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real killer, then? Finally. I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet. Not until the very end. The real killer, the person who played the frame Mr. Ungard is... Well, she's right there. Say hello everyone to Adrian Andrews. Miss Adrian Andrews. I choose you! Adrian Chu, you are Mr. Clarita's killer. What? Order, Mr. Wright. This is a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence to support your change? Any evidence? Look at all the evidence. All of the evidence points to Miss Andrews. All of it. Just all the evidence. Which colors should we use? All the colors! That was one of my favorite lines by Mr. Henner. How preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me. I can't I? Would you care to test me? Then what about this knife? The knife was used to stab the victim after he had already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion on Mr. Ungard, naturally. The knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only have been taken from his room. And the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you. Tisk. Then, what about the button that was found in Mr. Matt's Hakama? This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only person who could have done so was the person who found his body or the killer. However, if Mr. Ungard was the real killer, there is no way it would have put such incriminating evidence in his own Hakama. Alright, she needs to stop breaking her glasses and pulling out new ones. I tried really hard there not to laugh at it again, but still. After the first time, oh my god, the only person who could have put this button in Mr. Unguard's comma is the person who went to wake him up from his nap, which is you yet again, Miss Andrews. I see. What about the empty guitar case? Well, Your Honor, how about the empty guitar case? That's also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. That costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Now, who could have known that there was such a costume inside the guitar case? It could only have been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Miss Adrian Andrews. No, But Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case. And it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. That's right. Oh yeah? That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone had found out that she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposely left her fingerprints on the glass to show that, yes indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. And to top it all off, there is this photo. Thank you, Lotta Hart. A photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth can believe this nickel samurai is Mr. Unguard. He would be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature, aren't you? Please, stop. Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got her this time. Gonna feel like a prick for it, but yeah, we do. Miss Andrews. I refuse to testify. What was that? There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me. Well, yes. You are absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination. By allowing a witness to not testify, the testimony can cause damage to themselves. What? Pleading the fifth is not something most people would think to do on the spot. Oy. Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. Unguard's room. Adrian Andrews. Yes? Think hard about what we just discussed. Understood? Alright. That's it. That's when Francisca planned this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews to not testify if things looked bad. You did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. But there's still one thing you haven't done. What's wrong, right? You finished already? Run out of evidence. Well, so here, Mr. Edgeworth. Well, first off, let me save, just in case something stupid comes pulling out, like, oh, by the way, you're gonna lose all your points if you get this wrong. Now answer something. Yeah, just so I don't have to, like, go back and reload a save, so I don't have to listen to Phoenix just slamming into her for 5 fucking minutes. I'm sure you realize this as well, Your Honor. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up to this point is meaningless. What? Everything you have proven is circumstantial. Circumstantial? Yes, circumstantial. You've yet to prove a single piece of definitive proof. Proof that Miss Andrews did in fact harbor a wish to murder Miss Carita. Mr. Carita. Not Mrs. Carita, we're not getting her into this. Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Carita? I believe this may lead me to incriminating myself, so I will abstain from answering. But, Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think? Maybe so, or maybe not. There's nothing to prove it either way. Besides, you don't even know what crime it would be guilty of due to my silence. Oh, she's taking the definitive attitude again. Define attitude, whatever. Mia, what should I do? Somehow, we've landed to the worst possible situation. I think we have reached an impasse. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify, and the defense theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with solid definitive proof. But that's not true. In this situation, there's only one thing this court can do. Postpone it for, and that is to declare a recess. Just a recess? Recess. I request that both the prosecutor and the defense look further in this matter. And at tomorrow's trial... Shit. We don't have it tomorrow. If we don't get a not guilty verdict today, then... Please wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial... Please continue the trial. What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he? That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. Please, let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then Well, it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is... It is not impossible for this trial to continue. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you... It's true Mrs. Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation was something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that is very true, but... Actually, there's one little thing that I'm curious about. Miss Andrews, when you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice. Yes, and I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Usually when one finds a dead body, they are shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice. They're shaken, not stirred. I like my martini shaken, not stirred. Thank you, Dalton, for that one. So my actions were unusual, but I've already... Before you speak, I want you to state that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect. Testify? Your Honor, I would like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness. I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off of him. Is he friend or foe? I just don't know. I think it's pretty obvious he's a friend here, guys. I mean, come on. The court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please. When we come back next time for more Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, justice for all. Because I'm going to bed right now, I'm tired. We're gonna see where this court case leads us. Holy shit, this is getting interesting. Too bad I had that whole bullshit middle part, which was just complete garbage. But from here on out, I think we should be good. So I'm gonna make a nice little savey state right here. Gonna advance the dialogue just one little bit, just so I can that glass of juice I didn't really pour it for myself. Okay, there's a little teaser for the next episode. She didn't really pour the glass of juice for herself, guys. Holy shit!